Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another season 2 recap from the series Halo, where we're jumping to episode 4 today, and that episode is Reach. So I got all the professionalism out of the way really quickly here, and I'm here to say that while this was just a insane episode, war has finally reached reach. I didn't realize I was going to walk into that. I am so blown that one of my favorite characters, Vanek, is gone. And then Kai has just completely disappeared, who was one of my favorite characters in the first season. And I have nothing but suspicion with her now. And to see her not alongside of her other soldiers, alongside of Chief and Riz, and now Vanek gone, I kind of blame her, but nonetheless, this is a great episode because I think when you have war, especially when it's an ambush, you should expect many casualties, and we've lost major characters in this episode. Characters that maybe we were hoping to get some more from, characters of actors that we have respected, not only on this show, but just in their previous library of work. This show has not been afraid to dispose of folks for the sake of building up for things to come, because again, this is episode 4 and I believe the head count of characters we missed or we lost is like 3 or 4. So lot to talk about today. But starting off on this episode, actually, before we even start off about events, that's just my assessment of it. Let's hear from you. What was your thoughts about episode 4 Reach?
As I watched this episode, I thought about it was a quote or something, or an interview that Pablo had, where he was basically like, look, if you mad about Chief being out the suit, get used to seeing a lot more of it. And as we see, within season 2 alone, there's definitely been a lot of outsuit action. And I mean, the writing, the story justifies why. I mean, because for one, we now know those suits are on government loan. You ain't getting in them without permission. They just can't get in them whenever they want. So they have to have written authorizations to get in those suits, which makes sense to this particular story as to why Chief is not in the suit 24/7, no bathroom breaks. But like I said, I mean, we definitely get the tone set. Just with this episode kind of being like the halfway point of, out of the eight episodes for the season, where this is going to go. And I had a feeling going into from the last episode, like, yeah, this is where it's going to start to ramp up. This is where we're going to get some more of that budget. And I was not wrong. A lot of surprises caught me off guard, obviously. Like you just said with Vanek, I was just like, come on, man. Out of everybody, I mean, Kai drinking the corporate Kool-Aid, we don't know where she is, not having access to our strongest weapons, and just seeing the parallels of this show and just real life of just like when you need your government the most, they bail on you, bro. So, just it's a great episode. It hits a lot of different points, and most of all, it completely justifies Master Chief. Like at no point did he just run up on everybody. It was like, I told you, what I mean? They had a moment, but they didn't go too deep into it. So I really enjoyed this episode, despite the losses and the ridiculousness that happened throughout its run. But yeah, it was a good episode, man.
And I agree, because I mean, easily you can tap into the drama of "I told you so," making it a thing. But war is here, so if you're going to keep it action and war based, it ain't time for talking. So I loved how Admiral Keyes have that quick little hiccup of a moment, because it's definitely all of that. It's literally like okay, yep, you're right. All right, but time to go and whatnot. But I don't know, man. Starting off with the episode, like Vanek and the birds, and like seeing the explosions, like I'm not going to be the first to say for whatever foreshadow his death at the end of this. I don't know if the birds represent something symbolic or that's like his piece, because you seem, I mean, that's sort of have been a thing traditionally, especially for Black folks, where they take heed to pigeons and birds or whatever it may be as just their moments to like really get away from war. This dude is war driven, and even when he saw that, he kind of was just like, time to get to work. I appreciate the one-liners. I mean, he gives you full-blown action star, militant mind character. And I'm building up why he's one of my favorite characters. And I also think he just complements Master Chief's personality right. So it's just like when they set this Silver Team up with the actors here for the first season, it's hard not to want to root for them always together. So yes, I have my gripes with Kai. We know Riz has been struggling, but like Vanek was like the dependent person, you know. He was like the Robert Ory's of whatever team he was on, whether it was the Spurs or the Bulls, whatever it may be, or the Lakers, whatever it may be. You knew you could count on this guy. I can't believe that in the beginning of this episode would ultimately lead to what happened at the end, but nonetheless, war is there, and we're seeing it now because we go to the next scene where we see Chief and Perez, and they are running through the city. She's trying to get back to her family. An explosion hit the two of them. Her family is instantly gone. I hated that too because I was her mom was a character that I was hoping to get a little bit more of. Somebody who's like sort of giving a perspective about Perez, but also like giving truth to Master Chief. You know, he was a person that was like, I see, you know, wherever you go, I sort of see. I forgot how she worded it, but she basically
like
said,
devil or something like that.
yeah, wherever you go, like death follows you or something like that. And this is not him, which is obviously the moment of me wanting him to be liberated here, because it's like, no, I told them this was coming. I'm not at all the Grim Reaper. I'm more or less like the archangel of this. Like, I've come down to try to save folks, whether y'all want to believe it or not. But yeah, that whole building was just gone. Let me to give you some moments to reflect. Outside of the story here, we have seen like 2 to 3 really beautiful scenes. You know, rest in peace, Perez and her Perez family. But seeing that building exploded, seeing them run through the city, even looking at Vanek looking over at the rooftop of Reach being attacked. What was just your thoughts visually? You've always been pretty high on it, but like this is season 2. What is now your assessment of the visuals and the actions and the CG and all that good stuff?
As all that was going on, I was thinking like, because we were finally really getting more of what Reach looks like. I feel like the first season we were going down corridors, like we would see them fly in, but we didn't really get the cityscape. You know how people on Reach kind of live. Like we would kind of see it in and out. But as we got that kind of that tracking shot as they're running through and stuff like that, we got to see a little bit of like, you know, the metropolis of, you know, this world, this planet, you know, where everything is going down. You know, you're mentioning the whole thing with Perez and her family. You know, again, you know, just tracking back to what Chief was talking about. You know, what, you know, just, you know, we got to keep it moving. Like it is, this ain't the time. We got to try to, you know, get going. But of course, you know, you can't. She's not really a soldier. She's a soldier, but she's communication. She's not infantry. She's not in the field, so she doesn't understand, you know, loss to that extent. But I thought it was weird too that like you just said, there was explosion stuff going on. People were just partying. Hey, get out! Hey, like, all right, whatever. Let's keep it moving. Like nobody. Yeah. I'm like, y'all didn't hear that? Like, I didn't see those buildings blowing up. There's no way.
I think. I mean, obviously, getting to that part, cause that's a little bit of a head. I think, as you mentioned, us sort of getting more of a cityscape visual of it, and you expect different pockets. I mean, whether you are a cyberpunk fan and Night City, and you're like, you know, there's going to be that sector where there's violence and it's rough. There's going to be that sort of middle class section, which we're seeing sort of where Perez's family's at, and then you're going to see the nightlife, the wild and very like nonchalant. This we're so removed from everything that's happening part of the city, which is why like I did appreciate that, because they really did not only show you that there's major loss, but like it ain't just a bunch of folks that's out here running around looking like Master Chief. There's like a bunch of different lifestyles and a bunch of, as far as going saying, humanity that was lost on different degrees here. And I think what's important to that is to understand what's going to be sort of just that mixing bowl of folks that moves on beyond this, and also to Perez, who has to understand, as you mentioned, what loss is like. It wasn't just you lost your family, but folks that was oblivious to war lost. the military folks that fought were lost. There were so many different forms of loss, and whether this is going to be a conversion factor to their ultimately become somebody who's so more or less on the front line, or did she get a nod in terms of I don't know the Spartan program's done, but like, you know, does this align her more with the inspiring folks behind it? You know what I mean? Like, where do we see her story go from beyond this? Because now this is a woman who's lost everything, which makes her dangerous, as we know, but ultimately she has to look for community, because now she's going to have to find shelter within the USMC, USMC,
Yeah, wherever, yeah, USNC, yeah, wherever they
US
decide.
UNSC. There we go. Yeah, she's gonna have to try to find something there. But with that being said, the other part of the story is Halsey and Soren, and oh boy, I listen. I was very interested in what this chess match was going to be, because we knew there was going to be words had, we knew there was going to be different perspectives. We just don't know how this was going to go. But much like we said, war is here. It ain't really no time to really talk. When they found out that, like, hey, we can hear stuff is going on out there, you know, they hear the explosions, there's no denying it now, they know war is here. And light bulbs are going off in different perspectives, but nonetheless they know we're here, we're stuck in captivity as they for a little while, but like something's going on out there, and they're definitely trying to feel the temperature of the room here. But with that being said, after the bombings, this knocks out whatever bit of security that was keeping them in captivity. And while Halsey's kind of like, hey, you can't leave if you blah, 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 blah. And this is cool, because this is her from the scientific mindset about why you can't do something. And
Right.
this is Soren, the soldier, who's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe he does, but he's unbothered, unaffected. He's walking through regardless. He says, I'm gonna test it once before I decline it or pass it up. And so the security measures is all down. They're ready to go. What was just your initial thoughts about their two? And not to go too far into the episode, but what's just your thoughts about the two of them right now and their banter between one another?
I mean, this is something that we've been building up for over a season, with his anger, his whatever about the whole thing in the program, and you know, everybody's hatred towards Halsey. You know, I didn't know what this was how this was gonna play out. Obviously, like you said, we just didn't have the time. There's not enough time to unfold. All right, let's go. We gotta get out of here. Surviving is way more important than whatever we got. Getting back to my family is way more important than whatever beef we got right now. It's too easy, right? And I mean, I want to say I'm a little disappointed. But like I said, again, it's just too much going on in this episode to be worried about that one thing. But we definitely
Disappointed with what? And what one thing?
So I'm disappointed with the overall outcome of they just was, you know, like I said, it was just so much build up, and then we just wrap it up like that. Well, at least to this episode, we just wrap it up as like, all right, we don't got time for it. Where as though this is the biggest thing that's been bothering this guy for so long, and you know, the defect that he has, and you know, that's one of the things that he blames her for. And like I said, but like I said, to completely get a completely different dynamic that I was not expecting between Halsey, who we've seen this monster this entire time, and we see more of this adopted mother from her, like this nicer person that she is. So
Yeah,
it's kind of threw me off a little bit. Like
she gives mad scientist vibes, you know,
right,
like it's like they create these monsters, whether it's the Frankensteins or if anybody's seen Poor Things, you know, you got these creations here where you're just like, okay, you know, but like you find a moment of like, I don't know, maybe she feels proud of what she's created in a sense, and while the creatures or people that's in the program are looking for questions as to why, what did they remove from, and so on. Because I mean, like Chiefs and Soren sort of just reservations about her are totally different.
right.
He wanted questions as to, like, you know, why, and I think he got most of his questions answered in terms of him escaping. Why was he allowed to escape? And whether you believe her or not, she's like, hey, I saw something special in you. I was the one that allowed you to escape. You know what I mean? It's really hard to see through, which I would call Halsey's poker face. But I think for all the questions that Soren wanted, and he got most of his answers, but I don't think he has time to really let it metabolize in terms of if it's genuine or not. We know what he's about. And Bokeem is going to get his chops in, so we're going to get some sarcasm, a little bit of comedy in there as well too. But it's hard to really tell how he's taking all of this. I mean, because with all of this, like how's he's asking about Kessler and like trying to out like they like this friends that done like caught up. Like, how's your kids? How's your wife? But I mean, like again, I think the only thing that in a very unlikely companionship between the two of them, this connection that they got, like, is that like she understands truly what he's capable of. Well, no doubt. Yeah, he had the defect or whatever it may be. He wasn't completely suitable for what she was trying to accomplish, but she knew that he was special, so she had to let him go. Was this a protective measure for her or for him? Because for him, it saves him, but for her, this is like save face for her not being able to deliver what she was supposed to. It's really hard to kind of tell what to make of this. Halsey's always been somebody that you could be kind of sucked in on in terms of like, oh, she's not that. Oh, never mind. She's horrible. She's a horrible person. Which I like that about this character because it keeps you on edge because we have these other characters out there, McKee and Atkinson, who we know are just bad. There's no filtering of that. Halsey's the one on the edge where you're still trying to go back and forth with. And I would just say this to jump ahead with everything that's happening in this episode. Lost. I mean, we saw her even jumping out for Admiral Keyes, which we'll come back to. Has she finally felt the realism of what loss means like? Does that help her sort of navigate down a different path now that she has seen war hit the forefront? She's been at rock bottom. She's without anything. She doesn't know where Miranda's at. She lost Admiral Keyes, which is a weird relationship piece of co-parenting that they got going on, but she obviously cared. Where does she go next is the next question. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where that goes for episode 5. But like, to get back to everything though, as I mentioned, Soren just walking through, he's showing no fear. Getting out of that trap room, we go back to Chief, and Chief is trying to get back to Fleetcom so he can get his crew and the gear with Perez with him. We did go through that little party district, and they're just chilling. Like, what's happening out here? Like, turn the music up, turn it up. But the Covenant also got the invite to that party too, and that was wild. First of all, Master Chief wanting all the smoke. You question about his abilities outside of the suit.
I did.
Whether I don't know if you knew that initially or not, because there's a lot of Halo lore. Whether you watched the games or picked up any bit of written or any fan stuff is out there too. Regardless, show-based purposes, seeing him outside of the suit, you have questioning that. What was your thought seeing him go toe-to-toe with the Covenant and wanting all the smoke?
I mean, this is at this moment I was like, man, if anybody had any doubts about watching the show, this is gonna be a scene that gets YouTube clipped, repeated. Oh man, this is gonna be the thing that brings you in if you had any doubts. I mean, this is definitely the budget, right? Some of the budget right here. I mean, this is absolutely incredible the way they did this. Just seeing, him going, Call of Duty man down and taking out all the Covenant or some of the Covenant and stuff like that. Seeing what he's capable of outside the suit, and I think that was another big lead. It's going to be another big lead up to when he finally gets that back. What he's going to be capable of once they get their armor back and their all their enhancements, whatever they have with that too. But this was just absolutely incredible. The choreography. I would love to see the behind the scenes, like the green screen of how this was done, the jumps, the shooting and stuff like that. But yeah, this definitely had me turn up the volume and get glued into my screen almost immediately. Look, I'm not going to say I don't want Chief out with the helmet off, but I would definitely love to see. But I would love to see that. I mean, this entire episode is a lot of foreshadowing too. So it's like I said, this is a really, really, really good moment. Now, I might clip it right now so I can post it.
In the side quest, we get this lady in the typewriter, but basically, I think she just adds an extra level of humanity in talking
Yeah.
about like what matters and whatnot. I don't think there's much to make there, so we'll just move on. If I'm wrong, folks, y'all let us know in the comments. Halsey, as I talked about, asking about Kessler family and whatever, just a little strange form of bonding, but whatever. But anyway, this is when they was aware that like folks were dead, and this was from something plasma, which we know is by the doings of the energy sword. So this is when Soren is aware that the Covenant is here. So war is here. And then that's when we get right back into the action, man. We are on the city front. We are seeing Riz down there. They have no comms. So Riz is down there getting it in. Lewis 036, played by the fantastic Marvin Jones, they're in action. And while they're in action, this is just where it just starts to go downhill for our characters here. We talked about it. Very happy to see Marvin a part of this. Fantastic actor, fantastic person. We've met him last year because it's been a year so far. I met him last year. Did not know because of the strike what he had coming up, but he definitely was like, can't talk about my major projects here. But this was definitely a good one. And I was interested about seeing Lewis and Soren meet. That was something I had on my plans to do list. Like, I know Master Chief and him was probably going to be something, but I really wanted to see Lewis and Soren meet because you hear about him long. He said, listen, I know what that's all about. So does Soren. What was the dynamics there? Hell, even Lewis and Halsey, what would that conversation be like? So we were obviously rid of that because not only did we lose Lewis lost his boyfriend. It's bad. I think here we just see Riz, who really didn't have much to really work with in terms of shelter. When I say shelter, I'm not talking about just the house. I'm talking about like the family.
Right.
Although she didn't have any place to stay, she was saying she's now lost everything. This is another person now has lost everything because of war. So this is just really making everybody like going to have to rally and band together in order for the sake of taking down the Covenant. But anyway, like I said, we lost his boyfriend, then we lose him out of nowhere. I mean, they threw that in. I mean, it almost felt it was very much necessary, but as a fan, it felt unnecessary. Cause I was like, can y'all just let us breathe for 1 second? Like my man is grieving because he's like, where's my boyfriend?
Yeah.
And then he goes back, and honestly, this felt like minus it being like first person GoPro, just kind of felt like the movie Cloverfield because like anytime anybody looked back, it was a wrap. You had to keep going forward, and that's just kind of what it was. Like the Covenant came in numbers. They, obviously got soldiers to dispense left and right. And at the end of the day, they were there to annihilate any and everybody. Anybody could get it. And so, we lost somebody even as skilled as Lewis just that quick. So I just could not believe that happened in the way it does. I mean, they didn't brace us, the viewers, for any time to breathe.
It's wartime.
It's definitely wartime. So we go back to Halsey and Soren, and she runs into Cortana. And Cortana's like, Halsey, brief reunion before she's like, run. And when she says run, that's when we see McKee. And then I always get his name wrong from the Covenant, but I think it's Swahili, something like that. But the main guy, the big boss of them, slicing through, and they all know it's time to go. So Cortana is captured by McKee. So the Covenant has Cortana, which is completely bad to have their AI. Cortana's aware of what's happening. So now that Halsey knows and Soren knows, they understands like what's the whole goal here right now. There's a lot that they need to debrief on once everybody gets a moment of sitting down, probably next episode. They get the fleet comm. Looks like Perez was like ready to be gang, but Master Chief was like, so go ahead and take this coin. It's for good luck. And you go that way. I love that because how illegitimate would it have been if she was just like, I didn't see people die. I was out there in the streets. I'm ready to be a soldier. Chief makes it very clear. You go ahead and hit the arcade, baby girl. You're not ready yet. But yeah, getting there though, they're back. The crew, they're like, listen, where's Kai? asking Admiral Keyes, where's our suits? The suits are gone. They said, is it Ackerson? Admiral says he thought that Ackerson, I'm sorry, Master Chief thought that the Admiral took the suits, but he says, nah, you're right. You were right about all of this. And basically being able to put into perspective about what Atkinson's whole plan was about letting Reach fall and so on. So now everybody's on the same page there. They're not sitting here making time to make up. They're like, we got to figure out a plan. So with that being said, I think that the most important thing is now that the Admiral, and I think this is part is about oh, well, not yet. Before we get to the motivational speech part, this is again another conversation between Halsey and Soren, and talked about how John looked up to Soren, which was a very interesting thing. And it said, I let you go because the augmentation failed, so I let you escape. Augmentation, as I mentioned, augmentation failing, was that to save him or was that to save her? Because she was in charge of this. This was like her thing. You can't have an invention or creation or any bit of patent or anything if it doesn't work. You know, you get the Shark Tank, can't pitch nothing if it ain't going to do what it's going to do. So was this a way of her trying to save face, or did she actually try to like do what she thought was right at the time by letting him go? Because she knew, although this failed, I still saw the potential. I don't know if you want to answer that, or do we just let that linger? Or
No, I thought about that too when she said it. I mean, obviously this was with the intent to not having any distractions. She didn't need. She said he saw him as a leader, and if he was going to do XYZ, then everybody else would have followed. So it makes sense to let him leave. You know, without blatantly being the reason that he got captured or got killed or whatever, because that would have been a reason that John would have turned or whatever at the time. So okay, yeah, it makes more sense now that she says that, like, oh yeah, I let you leave. There weren't no guards there when you was leaving, right? It's like, oh wait, no, I did this all on my own. No, this was me. No, it wasn't. It wasn't you. You thought it was a little easy, right? You never thought about it. But yeah, so you jump back to reevaluating that relationship for the third time in the same episode. As does she care more than we've let on about maybe particular soldiers or just John and Soren in particular? But I mean, we already knew from the first season she was going to do whatever she needed to do to make sure she had some form of control over her Spartans. Whether it be erase all your memories of your parents that we may or may not have killed, well, erase all emotion or whatever, so that I have some control. And that includes getting rid of friends that we know would motivate you to turn on me or against the government. So yeah, I mean that definitely I mean that little bit of dialogue opened up so much as to what her character is and their relationship. And I honestly, man, I can't wait to see where it goes. I mean, she's so vital, obviously, to this war and XYZ. I mean, she's pretty much protected at this point. But as the show has already shown me in episode 4, anybody can get got. So I don't even want to see that, man. My bingo list, my bingo card is definitely all over the place now, because I was not expecting the deaths that I was expecting to see in this and the conversations that were had.
And you've been right about like Halsey being so vital to the success of whatever they're going to do. I mean, even Chief said it about Admiral Keyes, is that like these folks, I know y'all want to wear heroes complex and whatnot, but like we need you. If we're like beyond this moment, we're going to need you. And I think whether you like, love, hate, or whatever, Halsey, you're right. She's completely important to what is to come next. So we'll see. I think there's going to be so much to unpack for next episode. But anyway, we get Master Chief. Well, we get Admiral Keyes. He makes a speech to the Marines and let them know whoever stands will not survive. Get Master Chief up there, who completely inspires everybody. The Admiral, as I said, was ready to rock. Chief says, hang this one back. You need to get out of here real quick. And with that, though, we see that he had to release the gas connection, which I don't even know. Whatever. Well, I'll just let this slide. Whatever. I'm just surprised that there's not like no like automatic
right. It's ridiculous. Like,
it's all electronic in this world. Like, it's got to be something that says click click, and then But anyway, yeah. So Admiral basically loosens up the gas, which I can't imagine this being just a completely fail-safe thing, because anybody could just do this, and then, well, what happens. You let go of the gas, a little bit of fire. He sacrifices himself, and Halsey is there, and basically just is sad about that. Oh wait, did I skip this? I think I skipped some stuff, but anyway, that scene happens. That scene absolutely happens at some point. We talk about Soren, and Soren is being called the. Oh, yeah, that's right. Halsey and Admiral first. This is when they first meet up. I've jumped a whole little scene. Sorry, folks. When they first meet up, and this is where he's like, "What are you doing with Soren? He's a pirate. He says he's a small business owner." Talk about him getting his chops.
Yeah.
And they we got the chief and all of them on the bridge waiting for the Covenant to come, and the Covenant was in complete camo and just strolling down off the humble. I love this approach because they didn't make a lot of noise so that they could just walk up on them, so they had to send out that little white bomb flare so they would that they would appear. So that was really cool how they did that. The bridge scene was just insane visually and whatnot. As I mentioned, Halsey and Admiral that talk about where's Miranda. They're not going to reveal that one at all. It ain't got nothing to do with anything. We have not seen her yet, so we have got secret project for sure. But anyway, when all this is happening, war's just at every angle. On the bridge, up where they're trying to take off. They find out that they're trying to take off. So Chief and Riz gets up there. Chief, Riz, and Vanek, they go up there. So Silver Team goes up. Swahili's up there, like as I mentioned. The Admiral is there. This is the scene I was talking about where he has to unloosen the gas canister, lets it loose, flaming, boom, gone. Halsey was not very happy, very emotional about that, which was very different to see her in that way, to see her like show any level of compassion. But they co-parenting, I guess. But as I mentioned, everybody's affected from war, and this is far, far from over, But it was cool to see Chief and Soren fight next to each other. A lot of cool moments with that. Just very solid action the entire time. But there was nothing more exciting than when Master Chief picked up the energy sword. And I was like, oh boy. I mean, I popped. I mean, I hate that they teased us because we didn't get to see him really go apeshit with it. But him picking it up was hella tight. There's no questioning. Hella tight.
They saved it for the suit.
They are definitely are. But yeah, this is the moment where we're going to get Chief versus the head of the Covenant, the Swahili dude, however you say it, Swahili, whatever. But then this rando shoots Chief, and he was not happy about that. Offs my man head, and when it did look like that Chief was definitely about to meet his end. I think there was a measure of respect, maybe a measure of honor where he says it ain't gonna go down this way. And so they sort of retreat here because McKee called the shot for sure, which is interesting. I'm gonna throw that question to you in a second. McKee called the shot when it looked like the Swahili was going to try to kill him, but he pulled back. Interesting how that kind of dynamic worked. Again, maybe there's love for McKee to John, and maybe there's a measure of respect between Swahili and Master Chief. Maybe he wants the fight to be done properly, is why he cut his man head off. I don't know. I bring that question to you back in a second. But this is where we get Vanek dying. I am screaming to the top of my lungs, where the hell is Kai? Halsey's looking on. Cortana's gone. There is a lot, and I'm already ready to get into next week's episode. But for you, just seeing McKee there, because now there's no doubt that she's alive. Everybody can stop guessing, is she alive? She's there.
Right.
What's your thoughts about Kai's disappearance? I think you alluded to it earlier, so whether you want to reiterate that, her drinking the corporate juice, McKee calling off the execution, Vanek's death, the plasma sword, all the action, the fight choreography, all these things that's happening, sum this up for our final thoughts of this episode, this recap here of this episode.
Yeah, just like you said, that you see that a lot in anime or different shows where like the grunt steps in and interferes with a fight, and whatever, and then that person gets killed or whatever. Obviously, this is foreshadowing a future fight that's definitely going to be a finale. This is definitely going to be, season 2 finale, whatever. If we're going to get that plasma sword lightsaber battle with the Duel of Fates music, hopefully. But yeah, man, I mean, it was a lot within this moment itself. Again, seeing Master Chief get shot, and something that I wanted to bring up to earlier was the conversation that Chief pretty much had, which established his plot armor as to never ever being able to die. But he said, "Look, I know it's going to be everybody but me. I'm always going to be the last one standing." He's like, "This Cohen XYZ." Why would you have that conversation with a woman who just lost her family? Like, look, I ain't gonna die, so it's all good, So pretty much, like, after that conversation, he got shot. I'm like, yeah, he all right. Anybody else probably would have been dead, and that was a point blank shot. Like, anybody else would have been dead, but no, we just established that I'm the main character. I can't die, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I am definitely incredibly looking forward to that thing. The whole thing with McKee and taking Cortana. I pretty much think we can establish now that Cortana is the Deus Ex Machina of this show, and whoever gets her, we're gonna have a problem. And it's probably a big reason as to why they're not just giving us the armor up as much, and the reason why we're not letting Cortana and Chief join up, because that will be the end all be all of the rest of the season. Like, we don't even need the rest of the episodes. I mean, if you played the games, you already know how Cortana operates and what she can do. But it's crazy to see. This is the first time I've seen the Covenant take Cortana, so I don't know exactly what they're going to be able to do with that, if they can do anything. And if they do that, is that a bad thing for them? Because we already know she can completely take over everything that she has. So
yeah, and then remember, her whole goal was to always talk about the Atkinson about, like, if you let me out, what I can do. And he was like, because Cortana is essentially held hostage too,
right?
So this kidnapping of Cortana is sort of like did you really knew what you were getting yourself into? This is, I guess, for the Tony Starks and the Ultron comparison. Yeah, did you actually knew what this was going to do to Jarvis once you unleashed this Ultron AI? The other thing is, how exactly did McKee know where Cortana was at, Mr. Atkinson?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you knew they were coming, but it seemed like you gave them a map as well as to where to go.
They were hitting specific locations. Yeah, I mean, we talk about an entire planet, but they're hitting very specific rooms, very specific locations. Oh, that man definitely made some deal on the back end to save his life, obviously, and his family. How did you know exactly when that? Because I mean, like, he was like, "Oh, they're coming. You've been on this planet enough time, doing your thing with Halsey and everybody else. You knew exactly the moment to leave." So yeah. That's 100%.
Conspiracy theories, insurance fraud. Insurance fraud. My man definitely tapped into Geico and let them know, like, let me go and put a claim on building or infrastructure damage. Never know what might happen. He definitely was inside the know on what was happening.
It just so happens that the armor, the Master Chief, whatever, they're not at 100% power at that exact moment too. Like, if your plan was to kill him, I'm like, why take the armor unless they can't give it to a Covenant soldier or something like that. I'm saying that would be weird. But but just this entire wrap up, man. I mean, just the hero's death that everybody gets in this episode. Everybody feels like they have to blow themselves up for some reason. They were like 2 or 3 times. Speaking of which, how many times in this episode did you count that people went flying from a grenade explosion or that?
Oh, I love it. I mean, but it's pure Halo,
right?
I mean, whether whoever's throwing a grenade, like, bodies is flying. I think you're definitely catering to the video game audience. Like, we expect that. I mean, when you got the energy sword, that's an instant death. You got a grenade thrown into it. The fact that Vanek died from the needle gun, I mean, somebody had to get got by that. Just not Vanek, I was hoping. But to show how it happens is which it's really, really giving all the audiences what they want by means of war.
I'm glad that wasn't as worse as it could have been. Obviously, somebody that's played Halo, you know how to hit the needle that gets down. It was only like one needle. I was like, oh, thank God it was only one shot. But still, man, I'm like, a needle gun. I'm like, come on, man. I would have rather him just got stabbed with the plasma sword than needle gun. It just sucks, man. I'm definitely gonna miss that guy, his jokes, everything going forward with that episode. The tone, like the as funny as it sounds, the levity he brings to like the episode with like a lot of that stuff. But come on, man, we had to kill 2 black guys off in the same episode, 3 like in the same episode. Like, come on, man. And just one more thing I wanted to say was the part of the episode where Chief, I guess he shoots out that window and they all jump out the window. I can understand the soldiers, the roided up, Master Chief and them jumping out the window, but what about the other 2 that don't have special abilities? That fall was kind of steep. Unless they were being carried, that was the only way that made sense. As to how they
Who else jumped out? I forget.
It was Riz, Master Chief, what's her name? The communications, I can't remember her name.
Perez.
And like, so we had the 2,
and then Lewis. Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Lewis is ex-Spartan, so he's fine. Perez is the one in question, but like, she's a soldier, so you got to kind of give her a pass.
They probably carried her, but yeah. But overall, man, I think they wrapped this up. I mean, this leaves me hungry for more. This leaves me wanting more. I really want to see how this next episode starts and plays out, like where they go. I mean, from this point on, it's just all war, right? Like, do we just figure out what we need to do, how we need to do it this next episode? It's gonna be less action. We'll get a little bit more talking. But yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to see how they work this out. But yeah, it was a fantastic episode. RIP Reach, but yeah.
Yeah. And I had to look it up because I want to make sure we give proper respect to Bentley Caillou, who plays Vanek. Just a fantastic actor. Obviously, we've seen him in other stuff, but I mean, we're not going to talk about Morbius. But like, got to give him where the credit is due. Like, he really brought this character to the screen and made us talk about him, and that's just a testament to the work. And the action and everything they was able to do. So definitely will be missed. And I can't believe that we lost so many folks. But anyway, we'll wrap it up there. We're back next week. We got episode 5 on the way. Y'all get in the comments, let us know your thoughts, your favorite moments of this episode, some Easter eggs, all that other good stuff. I know all the folks out there do the Easter egg videos and whatnot, and I love you all's response to us and how we do it here in our style. So we appreciate that. We'll keep that going. But let us know in the comments anything that you picked up on, the lore, the video games, anything that you saw connections to, theories and predictions for next week. Y'all be a part of the conversation in the comments below. We do the description, you do the comments. Right. But until then, we'll see y'all back next week. Thank y'all for watching today. Thanks.